Good morning once again, Raymond and Nimwa.
Morning.
Can't wait for Doom Praise, can we?
Yes, it's an amazing it's an amazing program to an amazing month, end of the month.
Okay. How about this? It's an amazing way to end the month of August.
Yes, that's what I was trying
Raymond,
to say.
Daily Graphic, please.
The Daily Graphic is reporting this.
I'm tired already. It's okay.
The Daily Graphic is reporting this morning. Let's maintain 65 ministers in government. This is Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu suggesting. And also on the front page of the paper, we will modernize public sector. President declares at launch of 5-year reform strategy. It reminds me of when Papa Kwesi Ndum was the public sector reform minister.
Anyway.
And Council of State presents report to President Akufo-Addo. Yoko summons Mensgold boss for questioning, but company says he's done no wrong. That's on the front page of the Daily Graphic.
On the front page of the Daily Guide, EC chief caught in age scandal. That's a story about Hajia Sa'adatu Maida, who's said to have reduced her age by 3 years. I'm a happy man, and that's according to President Akufo-Addo. Big cabinet shake up, and Iyoko probes Mensgold.
Now, why is Akwatia a ghost town? Is the predominant story on the front page on the Chronicle. But also there is Vodafone must sit up and stop inconveniencing customers. And diamond scarcity is hitting Ghana as production drops to 2 million carats from 2 million to 800,000. That's on the front page of Chronicle.
On the front page of the Daily Statesman, incompetence, corruption, absenteeism, Ghanaians unhappy with the public sector, and $10 billion gone in a puff of hot air. Also, Bahamas NDC agreed sky-high gas price under juicy contracts.
The New Crusading Guide has a story about what the aftermath of the collapsed bank is, and Consolidated Bank grants 60-day probation for staff of collapsed banks.
The Business Finder, Ghana's private sector will thrive. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. 5-year plan will modernize public sector. That's also according to the president. And banking sector, Bank of Ghana's actions to spare investor confidence.
Now, today is reporting this morning, NDC gurus endorse Pio, and the Mensgold is also on the front page of the paper. But there's a coalition that's presented a petition to reinstate dismissed fire officers. That's the big story there.
Finally, from me, the Ghanaian Times, Ghana cocoa in danger. Cocoa board laments illegal miners takeover of farms. Cashew, rubber plantations are replacing cocoa farms. Also, SIC to maximize insurance reach with technology. Northern region farmers cry over shortage of fertilizer coupons, but the Ministry of Food and Agriculture dismissed claim. Also, PIAC questions non-utilization of 400 million Ghana cedi oil money.
There's more money talk on the front page of the Free Press. It says showdown on 5 collapsed banks as BOG backs evidence to CID, and the SNET begins internal cleansing. 9 fraudsters face court. That's also the front page. But Ameri deal, the big story, the true story, and the inside story is what the Free Press is presenting today.
So let's go into the details of the papers. And Raymond, yesterday's bombshell is dominating, isn't it?
Yes, the Business and Financial Times has a very big one on it. Actually, their banner headline is the BOG officials, shareholders complicit in UT Capital Bank's crisis. And we brought you that story yesterday, the day before. We gave you inclinations into what happens to be, and if I'm choosing my words carefully, I may want to borrow a word and make the owner keep his own word too at the same time. It was a big Ponzi scheme, and if you know the history of Ponzi schemes, that's according to Mr. Tuahin, right? He's yes, he's of the opinion that the entire system was a big attempt to sidestep all the big rules at the Bank of Ghana with connivance from the people at the central bank in any way, so that banks could be set up, people could benefit from the setup of these banks, decide to go under, send the money elsewhere, and go in merry-go-rounds till the money comes back to set up a new bank, and all of the details what we gave you yesterday. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, let me bring you specifically what I'm talking about in this case. So, Capital Bank applied for a full tier 1 banking license with evidence of only 23.3 million. Then they said that there was also illiquid cash of some 51 million, which was not shown anyway. And 60 million was supposed to be provided along the line. They couldn't find it. Final approval was given without the evidence of the cash in any escrow account as was required, and individual certificates were presented by these shareholders. When they realized they had a big problem, they said, you make it a debt, we will pay, shared among we, the shareholders. Now, that did not happen. Then there was an attempt to raise, as Bank of Ghana being very benevolent, gave what they call liquidity support. 610 million was the amount of money earmarked for Capital Bank from the Bank of Ghana. And, well, as of August 2017, that's the amount of money that had been given them in different tranches, though. But the Bank of Ghana failed to appoint an advisor on this matter. Now, this is how the people spend the money that the Bank of Ghana gave them. 27.5 million goes to business promotion, which was handled by a board member of the bank. Now, IFS took 23.9 million. And the latest development, I'm sure you know, is that IFS is saying that they legitimately took the money. It was important. It was not through any dubious means.
In fact,
yes,
they initially complained to the Bank of Ghana that they are owed money by Capital Bank.
Very good.
And it is after this that Capital Bank used the liquidity support to pay them off.
So that's what it's saying, that this was a legitimate transaction. They didn't know of any dubious deal because they were owed and they paid. Now, 65 million went to Nordia Capital. And I'll tell you why Nordia Capital was later on saying that the money did not really come, because they were arrangers for engagements with the support and approval of Reverend Fisher Odonko. He denied that. He wrote to Reverend Mensa Wutabel, who was the board chair of the bank and also the founder of the bank, William Atuesian, saying, I am purported to have given some endorsement and signed some document. Please, it can only be forged. It is not real. Yet another 130 million went to All Time Capital, who yesterday told us that really they also had the legitimate need for the money. They were arrangers and could have been said to have engaged in any illegality. Peter Eliasu, and that name should ring a bell in your mind if you know about how Merchant Bank became UMB. You know that that man is very crucial in all of that arrangement. So we ended up having the money being transferred finally, going into Sovereign Bank. And we gave you all the details of who is within Sovereign Bank, who is connected to other companies related to Sovereign Bank, and how all of this engineering, financial engineering, the first I heard the word was in connection with Wyoming, right?
Yes.
Now there are proper financial engineers in this establishment. And anytime financial engineering comes, something dubious is connected to it. That's the interesting part. Then and now, whenever you hear the word in our system, it is only, I don't know which school teaches that, but it's an interesting development.
So those were the developments. Today during the show, we will be looking at this element of Capital Bank and its formation. Remember, it was stated in the documents we had yesterday, that portion, that it is the capital issues Capital Bank had from the beginning, the money issues they had from the beginning, that caused all the problems that they had. So today we'll go into exactly what money problems that they had when they were going into it. How much money did they have to form Capital Bank? Okay. How much money did they use? What did the Bank of Ghana do? Those are the major issues. But let's not move away from this issue anymore.
Yes. So Daniel W. Addo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the new Consolidated Bank, Ghana, has sent out a letter. Well, the letter was dated August 1st, and he sent it out to the 3,700 staff of the Consolidated Bank, but they're also staff of the 5 banks that have come together to form the new bank. And I quote, he says, the purpose of this letter is to inform you that you'll be working with the new bank for a period of 60 days for certain, during which time it will be possible for your employment status to be assessed. Based on this assessment, a determination will be made as to whether you will continue to be in employment with the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. So that letter has gone out to the 3,700 staff of the 5 banks that have come together. If you remember, last year when UT and Capital, when they had that whole brouhaha, there were about 900 staff that they had that were affected. We're talking 4 times that number, and they were not able to retain all the staff. So we're watching that space to see, because it's really a lot of people that will it looks like they'll be affected. Analysts have said that they are expecting significant job losses because they do not feel that the Consolidated Bank can stomach the number, and they'll be forced to downsize. So it's a bit tricky, isn't it? However, on the stock markets, the banking sector seems to be standing strong. So the week under review saw the banking sector leading the pack as demand continued to build up for GCB Bank and EcoBank. The top performer was EcoBank, and it looks like it's the collapse and all of the things that have happened in the banking sector are not affecting the bank's performance on the stock market. But we'll be watching that space as well. It's early days yet.
But guys, you know what I keep thinking about when this thing comes up?
What?
Consolidated Bank was formed last week, Wednesday, on the 1st of August. Today is the 9th of August. It's been about 8 days, or 9 days if you want to be nitpicky. Why haven't we heard from some key institutions in the nation as of now? Is it that the amount doesn't seem big enough? And mind you, we know that liquidity support of a totaling 1.4 billion Ghana cedis was extended to UT and Capital alone. UT and Capital alone, before they folded up for the 2.2 billion to be invested there. If you add that to the amounts that has been invested this year, it's a total of about 9.3 billion Ghana cedis. That's more than $2 billion. Now, to put that in perspective, on average, Ghana spends $1.2 billion on infrastructure every year. That means that for a single year, every single road we will build, every single 6-unit classroom block we will build, every single hospital that we will build, everything that we will build in this country is not up in a single year. It's not up to the amount of money we have spent on this. And if you look at what led to our losing of this 9.3 billion Ghana cedis, this $2 billion, the reports we read yesterday said that someone was using depositors' funds as a personal piggy bank, picking the money from here, 80 million Ghana cedis, picking it up and investing it in his own private enterprises. Business. And so you see, when we come to that context and we realize that this is money that we could have used to, look, we are mortgaging our bauxite for $2 billion China money to build infrastructure. And that is one of Ghana's single biggest infrastructure drives. In fact, when we were going for the CBD loan, Raymond, you remember there is the CDB, right? The CDB loan. Yes, we wanted 3 billion. That would have been the biggest amount of money we've gotten ever. We didn't get it. We got 1.5. That's how we built Ghana Gas Company. So the entire Ghana Gas Company Limited, which today funds pushes power into our homes, electricity into our homes, was funded with less than the amount of money we are using for this. And we have the Office of the President has been silent since last week. Last night, Ken Thompson mentioned it here. During Newsnight, the Office of the President has been silent since last week. The Ghana Bar Association has not spoken. The Christian Council of Ghana, the Chartered Institute of Bankers, we have civil society organizations, Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Africa Center for International Law and Accountability, Center for Democratic Development, IDEC, Occupy Ghana in Mani. We have SHRAJ, a state institution, because administrative injustice has gone on here. It's the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Raymond, wouldn't you say that administrative injustice has gone on here?
Okay, so to be fair, the conduct of the banks has overlapping impact on all of us in this country. Unfortunately, it was their private business, but it's affected because it's and more importantly, the poor people's money, because they feel it more, is the Ghanaian money that is being used to save a couple of people who did not do godly work. They clearly abuse specific rules and regulations.
And
they connive with people at the height of greed that you can never imagine. And the unholy union between people you want to respect, people in high places, and people who automatically have driven huge respect is where this problem is supposed to be.
I mean, think about what we could have done.
They're also the guys who are likely to get away with whatever they've done anyway.
Of course. Yeah. Do you know something? You know, in the midst of all this, you know the person I respect the most? Dr. Ernest Addison. I read the story on my journal just a couple of days back that he's personal friends with the MD of Royal Bank. And he said that it was one of the most painful decisions for him to make to close down Royal. Because Mr. Asafo-Adjei, and this is on myjournalline.com, he cited the managing director of Royal Bank, Osei Asafo-Adjei, as one of the persons he was very close to, but had to take an action. He said, he's a personal friend and colleague, and I was in Cambridge University with him, but he happens to be a managing director of a bank I had to dissolve. He had to take a painful decision against his own friend. Okay, in order to safeguard money that belongs to Ghanaians. Because you see, what hurts me is that we were giving liquidity support to these banks throughout the whole period. Anyway, sometimes these things you have to just. But please, these organizations, let's hear you.
Perhaps they're waiting for the full story to unfold before they make a statement.
When next year?
This full story may never unfold. What we are getting is bits and pieces, and they come as we find. We have to get the information. Anyway, let's move on anymore. Oh, sorry, Raymond.
Okay, let's talk about Mary. And it is emerging that there was a PwC report that actually indicated that a recent review was not needful. That particular PwC report deemed Ameri as good to go. This is different from the Justice Ministry's so-called report that also gave it a green light, even though they expressed some concerns about how airtight the policy or the agreement with Ameri was. And this, we are talking about the original 510 and not the upgraded 1.2 that happened to have gotten Ajako sacked from the ministry as energy minister in this case. There are also some who are having expectations of the new sit-in minister, John Peter Amewu, to immediately tell the people of this republic what is going to happen to the deal. You know, Parliament requested for 5 different documents, including value for money and others that the Finance Ministry was supposed to give as evidence to this particular deal being in the right direction. All of this put together leaves us with the last question, that what then are we going to do with the Ameri deal? Maintain, sustain, review again? Or are we going to go back to Metka or Ameri and say that, well, we still want a reduction of the 510 million? Did all our efforts to try and review and get us to do some of this cost the government of this country a peswa? Are we still bleeding from the Ameri god in this case? That is the question that's being asked.
Anymore?
Yeah, so Dr. Kwesi Yeboah Awuji, who's the Regional Director of Public Health Services, has disclosed that 6,269 cases of teenage pregnancy have been recorded in the Ashanti region between January and June this year. Now, out of this, 192 of the girls are under the age of 14. Last year, there were 12,723 cases, and 254 of them were below the age of 15. However, even though this number is extremely scary, it's apparently a significant reduction in teenage pregnancy cases in the region. And he's saying that this because they've gone on a very aggressive educational campaign on reproductive and sexual health issues. He also said that the earlier that the youth are taught the dangers emanating from premarital sex, the better it would be for their growth and development. Also brings to light how important it is that we're educating our children about sex at an early age. Sometimes those conversations are difficult, but they must be had because the numbers are pretty scary.
Right. Raymond, let's go back to the financial sector, shall we?
Yes. Men's Gold is also one institution that's making the news, and this was because the Bank of Ghana a couple of days ago issued a statement. The statement was that for the second time, we are warning you, please don't go and give your deposits to Men's Gold, whichever characterization they give to it. The bank got some flack from even the leadership of Men's Gold, saying that they should concentrate on telling us how the 5 banks collapsed. But we are knowing, and the latest is not what the papers are actually reporting. The latest is what we told you from Manjo Online yesterday. Israeli went to PMMC, went to find out what is the status of Men's Gold with them, and this is actually emerging that they did not have any form of licensing, they did not have any authorization, which is required according to the PMM, the Precious Minerals Marketing Company. For you to go ahead and make sure you deal in that business, you deal in gold, you ought to get certification from PMMC. They don't have as we speak, and that's the latest development on the front of what's happening to Men's Gold, deposit or no deposit claim.
Interesting. It's definitely going to be an interesting couple of days looking at how this particular issue is unfolding. But let's go online now. And the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank. In your best interest, Goyle Good Energy. And download the Safe Doctor app now from the Google Play. Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care. Now, you've got great love for your vehicle. You want the engine to last longer and perform to its maximum. It's okay. Goyle has a new super synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubricants for you. These specially engineered superior engine oils work efficiently on all modern petrol and diesel engines. They clean, protect, reduce fuel consumption, prolong oil change intervals, and enhance engine performance from startup till you switch off. Go to any Goyle filling station and grab the new Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Engineering innovation for your vehicle has arrived. Goil Good Energy. Now, the Skills Development Fund invites all micro, small, and medium enterprises across the country to apply for grant support to improve the capacity of their workforce for enhanced productivity and competitiveness. Public and private training institutions are also invited to apply for support to develop innovative training content for the private sector. The application window is open till 31st August 2018. Enterprises in agribusiness and renewable sectors and those owned or managed by women are especially encouraged to apply. To apply, visit www.sdfghana.org. Skills Development Fund, Skilling Ghana for Sustainable Development. Now is the time to own a Zenith MasterCard. Apply for a Zenith MasterCard debit or prepaid card from any Zenith Bank branch nationwide and enjoy two great things: no issuance fee and a chance to receive a gift of a prepaid card with a preloaded amount of the equivalent, the CD equivalent, of $50. Isn't this exciting? Don't be left out. Sign up for Zenith MasterCard debit or prepaid card today. Offer is available to account and non-account holders. Terms and conditions apply. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. MyJoyOnline.com says, BOG officials complicit in collapse of banks transferred. It's a question asking, are BOG officials complicit? You have the answer?
Yes,
let's tell the public on the show.
Later on.
Yeah, on the show. So are BOG officials complicit in collapse of banks transferred? We'll tell you on the show today. Men's Gold is not licensed to buy or sell gold. PMMC speaking there. That's the story that Raymond just brought out to us. Public sector to go paperless to check delays in service delivery. President Akufo-Addo speaking at the launch of the National Public Sector Reform. Other online stories. Adam Online says University of Ghana to cough up $160 million for Africa Intergrass. First reshuffle, Otiko out upon Nkrumah for Information Ministry. The BBC says maid stole ex-Zambian First Lady's clothes. And NPR.com says some bacteria are becoming more tolerant of hand sanitizers, according to a study.
You gotta tell somebody here.
Oh, are you pointing at anymore?
Yes.
So that hand sanitizer you've been carrying on. Anyway, that was the news and online review. Thanks, Raymond. Thanks, anymore. We'll be back later when we are dissecting the more information we have about the collapse of Capital and UT banks. You don't want to miss a moment of it, particularly when it comes to the involvement of officials of Bank of Ghana. This is a Super Morning Show. The BBC News is up next after this.
This was Kwame's Life before